Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Today, we are going over my week number 5 start and sit wide receivers, starting it off with the Jaguars versus the Bills. Before we get into that, though, if you are new to this channel, consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, at the end of the video, if you did enjoy, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up. Also, we're on the road to 3,000 subs. Thank you so much for all the support recently. Starting it off, like I said, with the Jags and the Bills, I'm sitting Calvin Ridley, starting Christian Kirk, sitting Zay Jones, starting Stephon Diggs, and sitting Gabe Davis in this matchup. As for Calvin Ridley, let's start there. Very hard to trust Calvin Ridley lately. All right, seeing as his targets seem to keep decreasing as the weeks go on, that's never a good sign. If it wasn't for that touchdown last week against the Falcons, that would have been 3 stinkers in a row. We would have been having a little bit different of a conversation. I know people are a little bit panicked, but they'd be even more panicked last week if he didn't get that touchdown. Until I personally see a change in this offense running through Christian Kirk as the quote-unquote #1 wide receiver these past couple of weeks, I can't start Calvin Ridley right now. At least not against a team like Buffalo, who is very tough to throw against. Moving on to Christian Kirk, I do have him as a start. Like I said, these past 3 weeks for me, it's been pretty clear that Christian Kirk has been the real wide receiver #1 so far in Jacksonville. This is most likely due to the fact that him and Lawrence had a prior connection, I will say. Also, Kirk is a great wide receiver, great slot wide receiver, that is. He showed that last season. We saw that a ton. He played amazing. He can exploit teams in so many ways, and he's doing that again this season. I will say there's no doubting Ridley's talent. He's clearly a very talented player, but right now Kirk is the only wide receiver that I trust in this offense. That being said, this is a very tough Bills defense to throw on, so I'm not feeling great about it. If you are going to start one or the other, though, I would lean Kirk. Sitting Zay Jones on the other side of things, Jones is dealing with that knee injury still that's kept him out for the past 2 games. Even if he plays, matchup is not favorable once again, so I'm sitting him. On the opposite side of the ball, Stephon Diggs is a must start every single week for you. Had an amazing game last week. Should be played no matter what, and should see more of the same this week against the Jags. I wouldn't expect him to drop another 30 bomb, but he'll play solid. He will. As for Gabe Davis goes, I am going to sit him. Somehow Gabe Davis just keeps catching touchdown passes to save his day every single week. All right, he is a definite sell high candidate for me in terms of who to trade away. His normal target share sits around 3 to 4 targets per game. Do you really feel confident starting a wide receiver that could drop a fat dud every single week, but he somehow saves it due to a touchdown? All right, clearly he has a knack for finding the end zone, but if you start him, all I got to say is good luck. All right, good luck praying that he finds the end zone, because if not, it's a dud. Texans versus the Falcons. I'm starting Nico Collins, starting Tank Dell, sitting Robert Woods, sitting Drake London, and sitting Matt Collins. As for Nico Collins goes, last week was a Collins big breakout game. My stand on either Nico Collins or Tank Dell breaking out is still true to this day. I still believe the same exact thing. One of these guys will go out and have an incredible game almost every single week. It's just a toss-up of who it's going to be. Unless they are somehow getting shut down and no one can catch a pass, one of these guys is going to have to do it for him. This Atlanta defense, though, is no joke whatsoever. All right, they are currently ranking 6th against the pass. I'll say with Kirk and Ingram on the Jags last week having good games, it is kind of promising. I can see Collins or Dell having a solid game in this one. They can definitely break through this defense at certain points in this matchup. That's also like I've been talking about, why I have Tank Dell as a start. This could be a bounce back game for Tank Dell right here. I think there's a lot of overreactions going on because Tank Dell was a guy that you picked up off waivers, right? This was never a guy that you expected to be the wide receiver 1 on this team, and it's pretty clear that Nico Collins has more potential as the wide receiver 1. That doesn't mean there's not going to be good weeks for Tank Dell, all right? That only happens where Tank Dell gets like springboarded into that wide receiver 1 conversation in certain scenarios. I would compare that to Puka Nacua, where it's like a rare gem. That's like a hidden find, but Tank Dell is going to be consistent as the year goes on. He will drop a dud or two, but most weeks he's going to do solid in fantasy. All right, CJ Stroud is going to have to throw the ball a lot the rest of the season, and like I said, Dell and Collins, they'll be just fine. Don't worry about them. Don't overthink this situation. As for Robert Woods goes, I think Robert Woods overall, he's just a solid player. Nothing amazing, but he is a consistent option. All right, 6 to 7 targets a game is what you're going to get from him. 40 yards per game should be your expectations with him. Sure, throughout the course of the season, he's going to have a breakout game or two. There's no denying that. In an offense like this, anything's possible. Don't get me wrong. Collins and Dell are clearly above him as better options at the wide receiver position on this Houston Texans team. So that's why I got Robert Woods as a sit here this game. On the opposite side of the ball, Drake London is a definite sit in my opinion. Caught a little nice touchdown in London. London. Who would have thought? You should have that should have been the locked in bet of the week there. Guaranteed money. But he got a whopping 7 targets in this game. All right, probably his highest of the year right there so far. Only managed 3 catches with that being said. Okay. This is another situation where the Falcons found themselves down in this game the entire time, which they hate doing, clearly, because their wide receivers really can't get anything going, even if they're down the whole game. All right, 11.8 PPR fantasy points is cool and all, but I don't want anything to do with these wide receivers, especially when they are in games. They're going to run the ball like crazy with Bijan and Algier. I'd be trading him if he has another good week here in the next couple of sessions, getting him off my team. I said in my last couple of videos, I would be trading off of bad teams, bad offenses. Not that their run game is bad, but their passing game is awful. Okay, so I'm trading away Drake London if I can. And then also Mac Hollins. He's just not getting anything going behind Drake London. None of these receivers are. So, no, it's not an option for me of starting Mac Hollins in this one. Panthers versus the Lions. I am starting Adam Thielen, sitting DJ Chark Jr., sitting Jonathan Mingo, starting Amon-Ra St. Brown, sitting Josh Reynolds, and sitting Jameson Williams in this one. Let's start it off with Adam Thielen. Right now, Adam Thielen looks like the only consistent option on this Panthers team. Bryce Young has looked pretty terrible so far this year, and he's definitely struggling. But Adam Thielen has had at least 8 targets in his last 3 games, and that should continue going forward as long as Bryce Young and his chemistry keeps building week after week after week. I think that connection gets even stronger. The Lions defense in this one, though, they are very tough. I wouldn't be surprised if this one is a low-scoring affair, at least for the Panthers side of the ball. I think Thielen sits right at that solid flex option for me. As for DJ Chark goes, DJ Chark he looked great with Andy Dalton, I will say, at quarterback, but went right back down to getting almost no looks with Bryce Young at QB again. This is exactly what I was afraid of happening, is that he would have a breakout kind of week with a different quarterback, and that's exactly what we saw. Chark overall is a solid wide receiver, but as of right now, you just can't trust him in your fantasy lineups heading forward until he shows more promise in the target department. Also, I am sitting Jonathan Mingo. Personally, I think Mingo is eventually going to become the number 2 wide receiver in Carolina behind Adam Thielen just because of his target share. It's clearly higher than what DJ Chark receives when Bryce Young is on the field. The main problem with Mingo right now, though, is he's just not converting those targets into catches. We're going to have to wait and see in future weeks if he can improve in that category. As I mentioned with Thielen, though, this is not a great matchup, so I'm not feeling too great about starting anybody except Thielen here at the flex, like I mentioned. On the opposite side of the ball, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm starting him. If he plays, I'm not sure. I'm not seeing a situation where you're sitting him. I'm really not. He should continue to be the number 1 wide receiver on this team. We just have to wait and see what Jameson Williams brings to the table. I still think Amon-Ra has that position on lock, though. Sitting Josh Reynolds in this game, he's been limited all week due to a groin injury. Going to be a tough game for him to get going in, and the Lions are probably going to lean a lot on David Montgomery in this one if they pull ahead early against a bad running defense in the Panthers. And that carries over to Jameson Williams. He's going to be on a snap count most likely in this game, so I wouldn't count on him producing big numbers here. We just have to see how it plays out. I would be rostering Jameson Williams, though, if he is on your waiver wire. Titans versus the Colts. I am starting DeAndre Hopkins, sitting Treylon Burks, sitting Nick Westbrook-Akine, starting Michael Pittman Jr., sitting Alec Pierce, and sitting Josh Downs. Starting it off with DeAndre Hopkins. Been a pretty tough start to the year for DeAndre Hopkins. Anybody who drafted him is probably not too happy with his production as of week number 5. That's exactly what you get, though, when you join a team that likes to run the ball a lot more than they like to pass. They like to run their game through Derrick Henry, and that's what they're going to continue to want to do as the season goes on. The game script for the Titans has to be absolutely perfect for DeAndre Hopkins to thrive in an offense like this. I would be pretty surprised in this game coming up against the Colts if the Titans fall down huge in this one, but anything can happen at the end of the day. It's the NFL. Nobody actually knows. I am a little concerned about how much Hopkins played in last week's game. 35 out of a possible 66 total offensive snaps. It was a blowout, so, maybe we'll give him a break for that, but Westbrook-Ikhine played the most snaps out of the whole team. So we'll continue to monitor that as this week continues, because Treylon Burks, as of right now, hasn't practiced up until Thursday night. I doubt he plays. And even if he does play, I don't like playing him behind a guy like Hopkins, because there's not really a ton of passes to go around in an offense like this. But I will say, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is a very intriguing option in deeper leagues. And I said this a couple weeks back when DeAndre Hopkins was projected to miss the week. He actually ended up playing, but Ikhine caught a touchdown in that one. He also caught a touchdown last week, if I'm not mistaken. He's been seeing the most snaps and playing very consistently as of late. 16.1 last week against the Bengals when Burks didn't play. And if Burks is out again, I'm very intrigued. Like I said, in those deeper leagues, there's worse options out there than Westbrook-Ikhine. On the opposite side of the ball, I'm starting Michael Pittman Jr. He should have a bounce-back game here. There's no reason why he is not set up to do that. He dropped a fat dud against the Rams last week. Very disappointing. Wasn't great seeing him only get 5 targets, okay? But he's still the wide receiver number 1 on this team, so I think you still have to play him. Titans are also ranking 27th currently against the pass, so not good at all. Not good at all, but it's a great matchup for Michael Pittman to have a bounce-back game. I'm sitting Alec Pierce in this one, not seeing enough targets with Richardson running the ball so much, and same goes for Josh Downs, although Josh Downs should emerge into that wide receiver number 2 role as the season continues. Anthony Richardson is going to be a guy, though. He runs the ball so much, and he has so much potential with his legs. I don't know if he's going to see, I don't know if this is going to be an offense that passes, 40, 50 times a week. It's probably just not going to happen. Giants, Dolphins. I am sitting Darius Slayton, starting Wan'Dale Robinson, sitting Jalen Hyatt, starting Tyreek Hill, starting Jalen Waddle, and sitting Braxton Berrios in this one. Darius Slayton, honestly, the main reason that I don't want much to do with any of this Giants team is really just the O-line. Daniel Jones has barely any time to get the ball off, barely any time to lift his head up after he takes the snap. That's how bad this is. The Dolphins don't have an amazing defense, I will say, but they might look like they do against this Giants team that's struggling so far this year. Also, Slayton has not gotten anything going so far. Moving on to Wan'Dale Robinson, though, this is a sneaky type of play, in my opinion. It seems like the Giants really like Wan'Dale Robinson, and they think that he could be the wide receiver number 1 on this team. They're trying to get him involved in this offense a lot after his knee surgery. Like I said, he does look like the best receiver on this team right now, and if Daniel Jones has any time on Sunday against the Dolphins, I'd expect him to be mainly looking for Wan'Dale Robinson. As for Jalen Hyatt goes, he's a sit. The offseason hype as of right now hasn't come to fruition. It's all been talk at this point. So he hasn't gotten more than 2 targets yet in a game. We need to see more production, more targets out of Jalen Hyatt, and then maybe I'll consider starting him. Opposite side of the ball, Tyreek Hill. He's a start for me. Auto start every single week. Plus, this is a great matchup. Not going to talk about this anymore. As for Jalen Waddle, though, he's gotten off to a slower start than normal than in past years of his career. But I am very confident in this game he's going to bounce back. It doesn't have anything to do with his abilities, the struggles. Last week especially, the whole team couldn't get going except for Devon Achane. All right, Tyreek Hill was even contained by a tough Buffalo Bills passing defense. Giants defense in this one should give way more opportunities, plenty of opportunities to go around between Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle for a nice little turnaround for both of these guys. As for Braxton Berrios goes, sitting him. He had a great game against Buffalo, but I wouldn't count on that every single week. I think this was a purely based on a situation where Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill were contained, so Braxton Berrios was the one that was finding room to catch passes. Saints versus the Patriots. I'm starting Chris Olave, starting Michael Thomas, sitting Rashid Shaheed, sitting Devontae Parker, sitting Juju Smith-Schuster, and sitting Kendrick Bourne. Chris Olave. Last week's dud should not happen almost ever again, all right? Carr was clearly limiting his passes to mostly checkdowns to Alvin Kamara the entire game. Things should go back to normal as Derek Carr gets healthier and closer to 100%. This week is a tough matchup, but since the Patriots lost Christian Gonzalez, that's one last thing you have to worry about going against this Patriots defense. Although Bill Belichick always has tricks up his sleeve, so don't be surprised if they contain Olave somewhat. He's not going to drop a 1 PPR fantasy point performance again, though. You can probably count on that. Michael Thomas, however, starting him as well. All right, I'm expecting another 50-ish receiving yards from Michael Thomas, just like normal. I would be starting him in deeper leagues only at the flex position if needed in this one, but I had to have him as a start on here. He's been so consistent, and you know exactly what to expect from him. Michael Thomas having a solid year so far. Sitting Rashid Shaheed right now. I love him as a player. I've talked about him in a lot of the past videos about his explosiveness, and he has a ton of potential. I'm just not comfortable starting him as of right now. He's just not getting enough looks. On the opposite side of the ball, I'm not confident starting anybody on this Patriots offense right now. None of them are being consistent. None of them are doing anything notable. Nope. I'm out on the Patriots. Sorry. Ravens versus the Steelers. I am starting Zay Flowers, sitting Odell Beckham Jr., sitting Rashad Bateman, starting George Pickens, sitting Allen Robinson, and sitting Calvin Austin. Zay Flowers. I'm not giving up on Zay Flowers just yet, nor am I panicking whatsoever about him, all right? He is still in line to do great things this season. Still seeing more targets, snaps played, and routes run out of any wide receiver on this team right now. Didn't expect him to have a big game last week. A lot of people were saying start him at your flex, start him at whatever. You know, he's going against the Browns, who were ranked number 1 against the pass last week. This week's situation is much different, going up against a much worse Steelers defense. They've been getting stomped every single week. I can see the same thing happening in this one. As for Odell Beckham goes, he's been limited in practice up until Thursday night. He's a very risky start if he does play. I'll just say that. And then Rashad Bateman, also a sit, hasn't looked good at all this year. Nothing doing for Rashad Bateman right now. On the opposite side of the ball, though, this one might be a little bit surprising that I have George Pickens as a start. And I will say I'm not feeling great about it. I'm probably going to regret saying that you should start him here. But I think if you have a wide receiver 2 or a flex position that you need filled, especially with all the bye weeks coming up this week, and you have Pickens on your team, you kind of got to play him. All right, the targets are still there. It's just a matter of cashing in on those targets. He's the only part of this offense I think I want anything to do with. I know he's been struggling, but he looks like the one, semi-bright spot, other than Jaylen Warren, arguably. All right, as for Allen Robinson goes, he's barely getting any looks in this offense, so he's a must-sit. And then Calvin Austin, he's a better play than Allen Robinson, but still not seeing enough yet. Still not seeing enough action out of him yet to feel comfortable starting him. Moving on to the Eagles versus the Rams, I'm starting A.J. Brown, starting Devontae Smith, starting Cooper Kupp, starting Puka Nacua, and sitting Tutu Atwell. A.J. Brown, in my opinion, is a must-start every single week, especially after that massive game against the Washington Commanders. He's on my team. You guys saw we went over my team in that How to Save Your Fantasy season. He exploded. We love to see that. A.J. Brown, though, I must say, he's a guy that's going to drop a dud or two every now and again. Throughout the season, he'll drop like a 5-point performance, and you just got to accept that out of A.J. Brown. Like we said a few weeks back, though, he's a ticking time bomb in fantasy football. The weeks that he does explode, it's massive, and you just saw it against the Commanders. It's a huge performance. When he drops a dud, what are you going to do about it? You really can't do too much about it. That's just the risk you got to take with A.J. Brown. He's a must-start, though, every single week. As for Devontae Smith goes, he's just quietly being very consistent in fantasy so far. Not much more to say here. He's currently the 12th wide receiver in the league. I think he has a big second half waiting. I said to trade for him in our trade video this week. My stance still is the same. I'm starting him all day in every league as this year goes on. On the opposite side of the ball, Cooper Kupp was a full participant in practice. I think you got to play Cooper Kupp in his first return game, even though this is a tough matchup against the Eagles. The Eagles' run defense is much harder to get past than the Eagles' passing defense, so there is going to be opportunities for Kupp and also Puka Nacua here. I'm very interested to see how Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp play at the same time. All right, this could be a new Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods situation from a few years ago where both of these guys could thrive in this offense. Matt Stafford also, by the way, looks fabulous. As for Tutu Atwell goes, this is a guy that I'm a little bit more concerned about. Cooper Kupp coming in and him not getting as much targets. So I'm going to take a step back on Tutu and sit him until further notice. On to the Bengals versus the Cardinals. I'm starting Jamar Chase, starting Tyler Boyd, starting Marquise Brown, starting Michael Wilson, and sitting Rondale Moore right now. As for Jamar Chase goes, I think he's a must start on a weekly basis, especially in this game. He is pissed off right now. He's not getting the targets that he wants, and hopefully this is similar to an A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts situation where they had a little bit of a talk and he got him the ball a ton more. Let's hope we see that from Jamar Chase here. As for Tyler Boyd goes, I think he is pretty much a must-play type of guy if you have him on your roster this week. With T. Higgins most likely not playing and all the bye weeks that everybody is going through right now, there's most likely a situation where you have to insert Tyler Boyd into your lineup, and I don't hate it. He's going to get his targets. He's going to get his chances, but will he convert on those chances is the only question mark in my eyes. On the opposite side of the ball, Marquise Brown has been the most consistent option on this Cardinals team right now. Put up 3 stellar weeks in a row. You got to love what you're seeing out of Marquise Brown right now. I'm expecting more of the same against a bad Bengals defense, especially how they're currently playing at the moment. As for Michael Wilson goes, I think he's a start. He's looking very promising recently. I just want to see him keep getting high amounts of targets, and we should be good to go with Michael Wilson as the year goes on, taking over as that number 2 wide receiver behind Hollywood Brown. As for Rondale Moore goes, they said they were going to keep involving him more and more in this offense. He dropped a dud last week. I really just don't trust that at the moment. I think Michael Wilson and Marquise Brown are both better options this week. Jets versus Broncos. I'm starting Garrett Wilson, sitting Allen Lazard, sitting Randall Cobb, sitting Jerry Jeudy, sitting Cortland Sutton, and sitting Marvin Mims Jr. As for Garrett Wilson goes, Zach Wilson had a nice little performance against the Chiefs on Sunday night. I want to see that continue and translate into more targets, more touches for Garrett Wilson this upcoming week. They have a great chance to do it against a really bad Broncos team right now. As for Allen Lazard goes, he's not getting enough targets at the moment. He hasn't seen more than 5 all year. So the only guy that I'm confident in starting is Garrett Wilson right now. Randall Cobb falls into that same category. He's not seeing enough touches, enough targets to make me confident in starting him. On the opposite side of the ball, Jerry Jeudy, I'm sitting him in my opinion. Jerry Jeudy was a full participant in practice on Thursday, so he should be good to go. He's just really not showing me anything too amazing. I'm not feeling great about starting him, and this Broncos offense is giving me a lot of reasons not to trust them. All right, if you want to play him in deeper leagues, then go ahead, but they're going against the Jets, who are ranking 3rd currently against the pass, so take that for what it's worth. Cortland Sutton, on the other hand, he's been their most consistent wide receiver so far. Still don't feel great about his target share. I really don't. So I'm sitting him in this one. Like I said, very tough matchup. And then Marvin Mims Jr., he should be the 3rd wide receiver on this team. He's probably the most explosive player on this team right now, but not seeing enough action. He needs to see more action. He needs to get more touches as these weeks go on, because he could be a game changer if they just get the ball in his hands. Chiefs versus the Vikings. I'm sitting Marquez Valdes-Scantling, sitting Sky Moore, starting Rashee Rice in this one, starting Justin Jefferson, starting Jordan Addison, and sitting KJ Osborne. As for Marquez Valdes-Scantling, even though this matchup is favorable, I am definitely not looking to start any Chiefs wide receivers with confidence. Marquez Valdes-Scantling hasn't got more than 3 targets this season, and Sky Moore isn't doing anything right now. Rashee Rice, though, is a very interesting option. All right, this is a very deep league play, but it could pay off for you. He's seeing the most consistent targets out of any wide receiver on this team, any player on this team not named Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce is the one and only pass catcher you can feel 100% confident starting. But Rashee Rice, it could be a sneaky play. Not saying I'm feeling great about it, but it could be a sneaky play that pays off for you this week. Justin Jefferson, don't need to talk about this one. He is a must start every single week, one of the best in the league. Jordan Addison, I think he is going to be targeted a lot more in this one. The Vikings should make it a point to look at him a lot more in this game, seeing as he saw no looks last week against the Carolina Panthers. That was a little bit concerning, but this is still a rookie. You got to give him time to kind of, he needs to take over that number 2 role, by the way, behind Justin Jefferson. I don't know what they're really waiting for. I think he's more talented than KJ Osborne is, who I also have as a sit. I'm not hopeful about him because this Chiefs defense is pretty solid. Cowboys versus the Niners. I'm starting CeeDee Lamb, sitting Brandon Cooks, sitting Michael Gallup, starting Deebo Samuel, starting Brandon Ayuk. Let's start it off with CeeDee Lamb. I think he is a must-start wide receiver almost every single week, probably your first or second round draft pick. So no reason to bench him right here. All right, he's playing consistent so far, except for that Cardinals game where he kind of dropped a, not the best game ever, but it also wasn't the worst compared to some other players in the league. Brandon Cooks, though, this is a tough matchup, and Brandon Cooks just has not got it going on yet. I don't know what's going on with Brandon Cooks. Michael Gallup has actually been more consistent over the last 2 weeks. I think he can be a deep flex play if you really need a guy. Like I said, I know there's a lot of bye weeks. I know there's a lot of people that are in need of a waiver pickup. Michael Gallup, not the worst option in the world. Not feeling too fabulous about it, but I totally understand if you need to play him. Opposite side of the ball, Deebo Samuel. He is due for a bounce-back game. I don't think there's really a situation that I can see happening where Deebo Samuel is contained for this entire matchup like he was last week against the Cardinals. He's got to get it going here. There's no way 2 weeks straight, right? Right? Please tell me I'm right, okay? Do not drop another dud, Deebo. And then we got Brandon Ayuk, currently Brock Purdy's favorite target. He's been playing out of his mind. I think he's a must-start right now every single week. Last but not least, we have the Packers versus the Raiders. Christian Watson is a start. Romeo Doubs is a start. Jaden Reed sit, starting Devontae Adams, starting Jacoby Myers, and sitting Hunter Renfrow. Christian Watson, I'm very excited to see him get back to action and hopefully keep getting more snaps as these weeks continue. I'm very interested to see if he reclaims that number 1 spot over Romeo Doubs, who has been playing out of his mind. All right, he's Love's favorite target so far this season, and this isn't an amazing defense that they're going against in the Las Vegas Raiders, so I would probably be playing Romeo Doubs here. This was probably one of the more important waiver wire pickups this week, and for good reason. He has shown he's very consistent. All right, I want to see that continue with Christian Watson on the field. Jaden Reed, though, not too sure of if he's going to get enough work, especially behind Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, so I'm sitting him. Devontae Adams, opposite side of the ball. He hasn't practiced up until Thursday night, so this is going to be something you have to monitor heading into this weekend, but I think if he does play, he is a must-start no matter what. Jacoby Myers is a start also. Jimmy G should be back, ready to play on Sunday. He struggled with Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell got sacked. It was a freaking record number of sacks against them, so nothing he could really do. He was not ready to play in that game, and it was very clear. Jacoby Myers was not getting a lot of looks with him at QB. Should have a nice bounce-back game here on Sunday. And then Hunter Renfrow, last but not least, I'm not bothering starting Hunter Renfrow behind Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers at the moment. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, learned anything new, any valuable information whatsoever, drop a thumbs up. Leave any questions you have for me down in the comment section below. I will catch you in the next one. Also, hit that subscribe button. Peace.